Hey guys, what is up? Tea Leaf actually left a comment on my previous video, sort of encouraging me and explaining how watching my growth as a player was part of why he liked to watch my channel. And so I thought, well, all right, I'm going to go ahead and show some of my more recent invasions, mostly me being invaded, and kind of go through what I've learned. I have not been playing well. I've been getting my ass pummeled left and right. I probably lose 90% of the times that I get invaded, and I'm going to give you some of the reasons why here. This is obviously here in the depths. I think I'm about soul level 20 or so. Most of the reasons I'm losing have to do with bad spacing and backstab. So I'm obviously still trying to learn and gather data. Now watch. Unbelievable. The guy switches to a catalyst. I have my shield up. It doesn't have a lot of magic defense, but he still one-shots me with Dark Bead. And that is a very, very frustrating experience, to say the least. And I'll be talking more about that in a future video. But I mentioned spacing, I think in part because of the way the hit detection works. I think it's all on the client side rather than the double check on the other person's side. And watch this. The R2, I think I've got this thing spaced by a country mile. And not only am I wrong, but the damage I take happens at the very beginning of the swing rather than towards the end of the swing. And that was enough to pretty much end the fight. And this guy's just kind of swinging every time I get anywhere near him, but he's mixing up the timing enough that a parry's untenable. Plus the damage I'm doing at this point is ridiculously low. I think I had like a +5 fire weapon. It was not a good time. Once I got the Quelaag Fury Sword, watch the spacing here. The invader's behind the knight. I think I got all the time in the world to run away from this guy. Nope. Backstabbed. And this is the other part that's been frustrating and a real learning experience, is just how much space you have to have with somebody for running away to be remotely tenable. There I thought I had tons of room to get away from this guy, and learned obviously that I was mistaken. Getting invaded while you're dealing with PvE in Dark Souls 1 is a whole different ball game than it is in Dark Souls 3. And here you can see I'm invading as a Dark Moon, and I think there's a lot of people that it's kind of the equivalent of a dried finger run. They they accumulate a great deal of sin, or maybe just by going into Dark and Orlando, and then they just wait and sort of gank the Dark Moons that come in. So this guy Ree has been doing this for a bit, and I show off this invasion just because it doesn't go very well for me, but you can see why here in just a moment. Backstabs again. I didn't think the guy was anywhere near me, but without the double check, knowing when to roll and when I don't, knowing when people could actually get a backstab, there I turned my back to him, which was a mistake. You know, one thing I'm learning is that you almost have to stay locked on to people to protect your back, just because with latency and the single check, it's very, very dangerous. And here I am obviously invading the same guy, Ree, again. At this point, obviously, I don't know if he's by himself, if he's got a helper off to the side. I see another Dark Moon showing up, so this actually changes things quite a bit, and this is obviously the reverse of what had just happened. And there I take some damage for reasons that aren't clear to me at all why that happened. The kind of desyncing of damage and swinging is a source of aggravation for me, and you'll see some more of that here in some upcoming clips. And of course he disconnects. Disconnecting in this game is a lot more common, and I have some thoughts about that actually that I'll be sharing in an upcoming video. This was sort of an interesting Dark Moon invasion. You're trying to figure out the idioms of this game, like what sorts of people are likely to be invaded by a Dark Moon, especially in Anne Orlando. So I'm trying to find out where this guy is. The tower was down, and there's no way to lift it from the side that I'm on, which I think was probably an oversight. Unfortunately, I had my shield out, and I obviously see this guy is invisible, shooting great bow shots at me, so now I'm trying to close the distance, and I'm actually using the audio cue to know when to roll. And I'm able to knock him off. And I suspect that that guy was probably waiting for me, though I'm not quite sure if he just had enough time to prepare. I didn't happen to notice if all the other folks up on the balcony there were dead already. Spacing again. I thought I had that club totally spaced. And here I get the locked on roll backstab because the animation is so slow. And there I went to actually punish the roll that I anticipated. I actually wasn't trying to chain the guy. I felt a little bit bad about that. Again, something I'll be talking about. I'm not trying to one-shot people, but that is definitely a theme in this game in a way it never was in Dark Souls 3. And here, these invasions, I'm actually letting these guys finish up against the PvE, and not necessarily because like I'm a nice guy or anything, although that probably factors into it a little bit. It's more, it's defeating somebody like that when they're engaged with PvE is trivial. Like, there's no challenge at all. There's no difficulty. Therefore, it's not fun. Now, watch this. Watch when the damage actually occurs. He is probably only about a tenth of the way through his swing when I take the damage. And I'm not sure what you're supposed to do in those situations. Like, and maybe I just need to be a lot more assertive about my shield usage. And there's another example of it that finishes the fight. I think maybe the answer is I just need to have my shield up at all times. But again, this is just me trying to figure all this out and how all this works. And this guy was backstepping a lot. And I actually don't even know if you get iframes and backsteps in this game. I don't think you do. I've been playing around with the poise a lot, trying to figure out like which poise breakpoint is right for me. It seems like probably around like 56 or so works out really well. Like 76 to be able to tink an ultra great, I think is overkill. I don't need that much poise, and you have to give up some other things in order to get it. I don't think it's worth it. But playing like this and then trying to play with no poise was a huge wake-up call. Like, I think trying to play with no poise is incredibly difficult. So this, again, is kind of the break point that I feel comfortable with. And here, I've been playing for a little bit more. I'm feeling a little bit more comfortable. Swinging multiple times is something that you just really can't do except in specific circumstances. And I feel like I've gotten a lot better at it, but I still forget sometimes, and it gets me into trouble. So up until this point, I've actually had the best of the fight, but there the guy smartly ran in on me, and I made the mistake of going for a second swing, and he backstabbed me, and then a couple panic rolls later, and I ended up dying, which is really a shame because I think that was a fight where up until that point I had played better than he had. So this was interesting. So I had gotten invaded by a dark moon while I was trying to kindle the bonfire, and he killed me. And so here I come immediately back to the bonfire, go human again, so now I can finish kindling the bonfire. And I assume I'm safe because of the invasion timer, but the invasion timer for dark moon, see there I just get kicked out literally about 30 seconds after a dark moon had already killed me. So I'm assuming the timer for dark moons is not the same as the timer for red sign invaders, or maybe dark moons don't have a timer. Again, there's just so many things about this game I don't know. This guy actually had invaded me earlier in a totally different level. And I've learned through playing this game a big difference between this game and Dark Souls 3. Because they don't deliberately pick on hosts with phantoms, that means if you don't have phantoms, you're more likely to get invaded. And when that timer goes off after being invaded, especially in areas like the archives, you can pretty much guarantee that you're going to get invaded. And here I was playing okay, got a little sloppy there, and he gets me with the L1 waggle, and then breaks out the combustion and catches me off guard with it. Plus, I got a little bit hung up on about the bookcase there. And so here, as soon as I invade, I see that another Dark Spirits died, so I know they got the dried fingers. I know they're almost certainly ganking, so I'm looking to see where the home team is because I want to try to stay away from them and hopefully wait for some help. And Orlando's a pretty popular invasion spot, so I figure I'm just going to try and stay away from these guys until somebody else can get here. And of course the host, thinking exactly the same way, is coming after me to try to get rid of me before I can get any backup. At this point, I hear another invader show up, and I can tell he's close based on the spawn noise, so I decide to go ahead and face off against these guys. And there he goes for a parry. Backstab cancel because I went for a turn and burn, which is really not advised in this game. I roll into him thinking if he's going to try to chain me. And there, unfortunately, again, I think I've got enough space to avoid getting backstabbed, but I am totally mistaken. Man, I'm at a point I'm really kind of overwhelmed by the amount of things that I have to learn and just how different this game is from Dark Souls 3, and how few of my skills from that game have really translated over to Dark Souls 1. So I'm having fun, getting definitely frustrated in certain situations, in particular by the backstab mechanic and the kind of desynced damage and weapon animation, which makes it difficult to roll on reaction. Thanks for checking in, guys. Take care.